The Emberclaw Chronicles, Chapter 6. The Signal Towers. The barbershop stood quiet at the end of the street. Morning light had begun to settle over the village, touching the rooftops first, and then slowly working its way down the narrow road that curved between the houses. The sign above the barber shop creaked gently in the breeze, the painted scissors swinging back and forth with a slow, patient rhythm. Lyra stopped in front of the door. "Well," she said. Seraphine folded her arms beneath her cloak. "Well, what?" Lyra glanced up at the window. "We're here." Emberclaw stretched his wings once, the golden scales along his shoulders catching the morning light in a soft shimmer. "Yes," he said. "I noticed." Lyra looked sideways at him. "Good. I would hate for you to miss the obvious." Emberclaw lowered his head slightly and peered through the shop window. Inside, the barber stood beside her chair with the calm confidence of someone who had been in the same room for many years. A mirror rested in a small metal frame on the table beside her tools. She adjusted it slightly. Then again, the movement was tiny, almost nothing, but Emberclaw's eyes narrowed. "That," he said slowly, "is interesting." Seraphine stepped closer to the window. "What is?" "That mirror." Lyra leaned forward beside them. The barber turned the mirror again, adjusting the angle by the smallest fraction. "You've seen mirrors before," Lyra said. "Yes," Emberclaw replied. "Usually they are less complicated." Inside the shop, the barber lifted a pair of scissors and held them in the light. She tested the blades with a careful motion. The metal caught the sunlight and flashed. Then the reflection flickered. Just once. Seraphine straightened immediately. "Did you see that?" Lyra frowned. "See what?" The mirror flickered again. A thin shimmer moved across the glass. Then the reflection dimmed slightly, as though something invisible had brushed across its surface. Emberclaw's head tilted. "Oh," he said, "that is definitely interesting." Across the street, a shop window flashed briefly. Then its reflection faded. Lyra turned. What was that? Another window dimmed. Then another. The polished lantern beside the stable lost its shine, as though someone had wiped the light from its surface. Seraphine stepped away from the window. "Something is wrong." "You think," Emberclaw said. He spread his wings and lifted into the air with a single smooth beat. From above the rooftops, the village looked peaceful, quiet, but the reflections told a different story. Windows were fading. Water in troughs had turned dull and dark. Metal signs had lost their shine. One after another, the reflections dimmed like lanterns, being quietly extinguished. And they were not fading randomly. They were moving. The change passed from building to building like a ripple across the surface of a pond. Emberclaw circled once and dropped back down beside the others. "Well," he announced, "I have discovered 2 things." Lyra sighed. "That sounds dangerous." "The first," Emberclaw continued calmly, is that something is draining magic from half the reflective surfaces in this village. Seraphine nodded slowly. That matches what I felt. Lyra looked up at him. And the second thing, Emberclaw glanced back toward the barbershop window. The second thing, he said, is that it all seems to be happening right here. Inside the shop, the barber continued working. She turned another mirror slightly. Then she adjusted a small metal screw on its frame. The tools on her table clicked softly. Lyra stepped back. You think she's doing it? Seraphine shook her head. No. Why not? Because she doesn't look surprised. Lyra frowned. That's your reason. Seraphine nodded once. If someone were draining magic from the village without her knowledge, I suspect she would be reacting differently. Emberclaw chuckled quietly. She does seem rather calm. The barber lifted another mirror and studied its reflection. Then she placed it carefully back into its stand. The mirrors inside the shop were arranged in small metal frames that allowed them to tilt and turn in almost any direction, each one held in place by tiny screws and hinges. Lyra noticed them now. There are a lot of mirrors in there. Emberclaw looked pleased. Exactly. Seraphine's eyes moved slowly across the room. Those frames are not ordinary. Lyra glanced at her. How can you tell? The hinges, Seraphine said quietly. They're designed for extremely precise adjustments. Emberclaw nodded approvingly. Good, because I was about to say that. Lyra crossed her arms. You two are very proud of yourselves. We should be, Emberclaw replied. Being correct is one of my better qualities. Another reflection flickered. The glass of the barber shop window dimmed for a moment before brightening again. Then the fading reflections across the village stopped completely. The ripple ended as suddenly as it had begun. The windows along the street remained dull, but the draining had stopped. The barber wiped one of the mirrors clean with a cloth and set it back into its stand. Lyra watched her carefully. That was strange. Seraphine nodded. Yes. Lyra turned toward Emberclaw. You mentioned something about towers earlier. Emberclaw lifted one wing slightly. The signal towers. Lyra raised an eyebrow. You never explained those. Seraphine answered instead. Long ago, towers were built across the hills beyond the village. What kind of towers? Signal towers. Lyra waited. Seraphine continued. They used mirrors aligned with very precise angles. To do what? To carry magical light across long distances. Lyra looked impressed. That sounds complicated. Emberclaw shrugged. It's really just mirrors being very cooperative. Seraphine continued. If the mirrors were aligned properly, magic could travel from one tower to the next. Lyra glanced toward the hills. Are they still working? No. Emberclaw shook his head. Someone drained them. Lyra blinked. That seems like an important detail. Yes, Emberclaw said. It was. Lyra looked back at the barber shop. The barber finished adjusting the last mirror, and placed her tools neatly beside it. Then she looked up, not at them, not directly, but toward the window. For a moment, it almost felt as though she knew they were standing outside. Then she turned away and continued her work. Lyra exhaled slowly. "Well," Seraphine tilted her head. "What?" Lyra gestured toward the shop. "If someone understands mirrors well enough to align signal towers," Emberclaw finished the thought, "they would probably also understand why reflections across an entire village just lost their magic." Seraphine nodded slowly. "Yes." Lyra looked at the barber again, and the only person we've seen adjusting mirrors like that. Emberclaw smiled. "Is the barber." The village street remained quiet. The fading reflections had stopped, but none of the windows had regained their shine. Whatever had drained the magic from them had taken it somewhere else. Lyra stepped back from the window. "Well," she said, "that seems suspicious." Emberclaw folded his wings comfortably. "I enjoy suspicious people." Seraphine looked back toward the barbershop door. "Then we may have come to the right place." The three of them remained there a moment longer, watching the quiet shop. Inside, the barber continued her careful work with steady hands. Outside, the mystery had only just begun.